In prehistoric times, very little was wasted. There were few people and lots of space. Most trash was biodegradable, so it wasn't really a problem, but some did leave its mark. Shell middens are essentially prehistoric landfills.
In the earliest days of human history, humans were hunter-gatherers, often moving from place to place in search of food. But about 10,000 years ago, our ancestors began to learn the secrets of selective breeding and early agricultural techniques. For the first time, people could raise food rather than search for it, and this led to the development of semi-permanent villages for the first time in history. Why only semi-permanent, you might ask? Well, at first the villages still had to relocate every few years as the soil became depleted. It was only with the advent of techniques like irrigation and soil tilling about 5,000 years ago that people could rely on a steady and long-term supply of food, making permanent settlements possible. And with the food surpluses that these techniques produced, it was no longer necessary for everyone to farm. This allowed the development of other specialized trades and, by extension, cities.
As populations grew and moved into cities, trash became a problem. It littered the streets, attracted pests, and bred diseases like the bubonic plague. Ancient Egyptians threw their garbage in the Nile, where they also bathed and got their drinking water. Around 500 BC, the Greeks established a law stating trash must be thrown at least 1 mile away from city walls.
With cities now producing surplus food as well as tools, crafts, and other goods, there was now the possibility of commerce and interaction over longer distances. And as trade flourished, so did technologies that facilitated it, like carts, ships, roads, and ports. Of course, these things required even more labor to build and maintain, so more people were drawn from the countryside to the cities as more jobs and opportunities became available. If you think modern cities are overcrowded, you may be surprised to learn that some cities in 2000 BC had population densities nearly twice as high as that of Shanghai or Calcutta. One reason for this was that transportation was not widely available, so everything had to be within walking distance, including the few sources of clean water that existed then. And the land area of the city was further restricted by the need for walls to defend against attacks. The Roman Empire was able to develop infrastructure to overcome these limitations, but other than that, modern cities as we know them didn't really get their start until the Industrial Revolution, when new technology deployed on a mass scale allowed cities to expand and integrate further, establishing police, fire, and sanitation departments, as well as road networks and later electricity distribution.
And cities, by definition, are places where very large numbers of people are deliberately grouped together. All these people make innovation, collaboration, and economic development possible where it wouldn't have been otherwise. And, as anyone who's ever been to a rock concert knows, when you group large numbers of people into one place, it gets crowded. The thing is, having so many people in one place poses certain logistical challenges, which means infrastructure needs to be built to support them. Sometimes this infrastructure fails, resulting in unemployment, homelessness, gangs, and other social evils. But just as people continue to go to concerts, despite the scarce parking, the trash, and the impossible traffic, the promise of better jobs, prestigious schools, modern healthcare, and high culture calls people to leave the countryside and move to the city.
Imagine a science fiction film. We're in a cold, distant, urban landscape. Imagine that we live in that future right now. The megacity is a reality. And it looks a lot like the visions of science fiction films through the 20th century. Gigacities are soon to be. In the midst of this cold, bleak vision of the future, we have the human being. It doesn't fit the cliché of modernity. It is personal, warm, intimate, social. In our search for opportunities, money, and a better life, we move to the cities
Cities are our future. By the year 2050, more than 70% of the world's population will live in one. But how will our world cope under the strain of 3 billion more city dwellers? Together, cities already consume 80% of material and energy resources and produce 75% of all carbon emissions. Their high concentration of people and infrastructure make them vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, like rising sea levels, higher temperatures, and storm damage. And in the developing world, many cities are growing faster than the infrastructure that is needed to support them. Sustainability is the key, and cities are striving for it. Where cities are sustainable, they are more competitive, more attractive to people and investment, more able to lift their citizens out of poverty and provide them with a great place to live, work, and play. All over the world, cities, rich and vibrant in their own cultures, are shaping their own ambitious plans for their sustainable futures, but sharing common aims. To take real action on climate change, to encourage economic development to the benefit, not the detriment, of the environment, to become more resilient to disasters and a changing climate, to improve the quality of life and well-being of citizens, fostering supportive and inclusive communities in which everyone can thrive, and to take advantage of smart technologies to improve the efficiency of infrastructure and provide citizens with better, more responsive services.
But does the way we build cities invite for human interaction, inclusion, and intimacy? Where is the scale for measuring happiness in a city?
Nobody knew that the way we built cities had any influence on lifestyles and people's life.
I think we made a lot of same mistakes as the Western countries has made.
We're living in a world that's choked with traffic everywhere, where we've made our own human living environment deadly for people.
You actually walking towards a chaos created by yourself.
City planning has been going on for quite a number of years with a rather incomplete toolbox.
So what is the future of cities? Global population is currently more than 7 billion and is predicted to top out around 10 billion. Most of this growth will occur in the urban areas of the world's poorest countries. So how will cities need to change to accommodate this growth? First, the world will need to seek ways to provide adequate food, sanitation, and education for all people. Second, growth will need to happen in a way that does not damage the land that provides us with the goods and services that support the human population. Food production might move to vertical farms and skyscrapers, rooftop gardens, or vacant lots in city centers, while power will increasingly come from multiple sources of renewable energy. Instead of single-family homes, more residences will be built vertically. We may see buildings that contain everything that people need for their daily life, as well as smaller, self-sufficient cities focused on local and sustainable production. The future of cities is diverse, malleable, and creative, no longer built around a single industry, but reflecting an increasingly connected and global world.
Giving people just a little bit of a taste of what their lives could be like if the space were designed for them.
What? Times Square has no square. 89% of it isn't even a square.
We needed to change the math.
Melbourne was in fact dying. Almost no population living in the city. And we were asked to write a strategy for change. And all we did was listen to the people.
But actually, I thought the sidewalk had gone through here as well at one point.
It had been changed.
They changed it back?
Yeah.
Life comes when you give people a chance to contribute something. People need spaces to come and do that kind of thing, to just come and dance.
If you see life, if you see how it grows, then when you grow up, you will take care of lives of others. So when we turn a city into a place where you don't walk, your kids don't walk, you are raising generations. When they grow up, they will be not human.
Now we have started the journey. Now we are in the middle of the bridge. Now I can set up my journey. Okay, which way I can go?